Uh, I would first of all very much like to thank the organizers of this event around Telecom Centers of Excellence, Mr. Patak, Shilpi and colleagues. I think you have done a really excellent job. I will not go into the topic of machine-to-machine communications, Internet of Things, because I think we all agree that these topics will have an immense impact over the next years, both on everyday life of our citizens and our companies, our economy. And we had very good spirited talks yesterday from Rajan Matthews, for example, Swati Rangachari. So what I would like to do is to take the strings where EU Ambassador Kozlovsky left it yesterday and provide you with a bit of more information about what the European Union is doing to concretely support cooperation with India and its standard body, TSTSI, in this field. But first of all, Mr. Patak mentioned that there is 360 standardization platforms worldwide. That reminds me of a saying of the previous French President Charles de Gaulle, who said, how can anybody govern a country which has 360 cheeses? So actually, it's still governable of France. He managed to do it, and I'm very convinced that the number of platforms is shrinking. It is a new field, so that's a natural process. There will be a selection process. I see it as very encouraging that the standards bodies of the European Union, Europe and India, ETSI and TSTSI are among the 8 leading standards bodies worldwide, together with those from Japan, Korea, China, 2 from the United States, which are in the driving seat to develop the common service layer of m2m, which I'm very much convinced will be very much leading this development. So I think we are on a good way to reduce the number of cheeses here. So I will make it short. What is the European Union doing in supporting cooperation? So first of all, we are cooperating with India on a political level. So there is a joint working group for information and communication technologies, which is run between the responsible departments on the Indian side and the European side. So that is Department of Telecommunications, now Ministry of Electronics and IT on the Indian side, and on the European side it's the Directorate General for the ICT matters, which is called Connect. So we meet about once a year, always together with a meeting of European and Indian industry, and we have regular contacts in between. Also there is some bilateral meetings. So for example, at the end of this month, a delegation from the European telecom regulators called BEREC will come to visit India, to visit colleagues from TRI, from the Department of Telecoms. So we are helping in all these kind of exchanges, also on cybersecurity, etc. And also we will have another summit between the leaders of India and Europe. The last one was held in Europe exactly a year ago, which had considerable agreement on cooperation on information and communication technologies. So we will have another summit in India later this year. So I will have to work with my colleagues from DOT and METI to drive cooperation in this field. And I must say standardization is one of the fields where we really do things. So on a practical, technical level, among the things which we do to support cooperation are 2 flagship projects. One of them is called CESE, the seconded European standardization expert to India, whom you all know, Mr. Dinesh Sharma, our session chairman. So basically here the European Union is co-financing together with the EFTA countries and the 3 European standardization organizations to have an expert in India which is collecting information, sharing information on the 2 sides, networking, bringing the 2 sides together. And in order to complement what Dinesh is doing, we have launched a fully EU-funded project with the key aim to support collaboration between the 2 standards bodies in the telecom field. So TSTSI on the Indian side and ETSI on the European side. So basically what we want to do, our thinking was to add a layer on top of the work of Dinesh, which should allow us to do more concrete activities for which the CSA project did not have the necessary funding. So this is a complementary activity. We've started in late 2015, 2016 with a 1-year test phase, so to say, which was successful. The local coordinator of this project is here in the room, Mr. Sachin Gaur. So he was instrumental in bringing together stakeholders from the 2 sides in 3 workshops in which the 2 sides, so ETSI, TSTSI and its members, agreed on priority topics for cooperation, which is 5G, intelligent transport systems, machine-to-machine communications, the future networks, so SDN, NFV, and as a horizontal activity also security. So since this 1-year test balloon was successful, we managed to get funding for a 3-year follow-up implementation phase project, which will now allow us, since November last year, to do concrete support for technical work. So that could be anything from workshops, trainings, summer schools, studies, analysis, up to very specific activities such as hackathons with startups. Let me just give you a short overview of what we have started to do, what we have agreed to do, and I have to say this is really a great effort of teamwork between the colleagues from TSTSI, from ETSI, the delegation of the European Union to India, where this project is managed, and the Indo-European project team led by Sachin and his German colleague Andreas Sommer. So we have already started doing webinars, 1 per month, where we have sector experts coming from ETSI, TSTSI, which are dealing with really specific topics on 5G, on any of these topics we have agreed upon, which is very interesting, but for an expert audience. Then we have started to give travel support. So here we can support Indian experts to attend global standardization meetings, but we do this not as a tourist office. We have installed a sort of 3I or 6I principle. We only support when ETSI, TSTSI and the European Union delegation think that this is really productive. So we will normally not support a representative of a multinational company to go to a standardization meeting because they have their own budget, but we may well, and we are already starting to do so, support somebody from an academic institution or from a public-private partnership to do that. Then last week, it was mentioned yesterday, there was this 5G testbed event in Chennai. So that is one event which we thought is well worth supporting. So we have given financial support to that. Also, as the project team itself, I'm pleased to announce that we are planning to organize a big workshop on the 21st of April in cooperation with CDOT. Mr. Tiagi is here on the CDOT campus, and the topic of that will be future-proof smart cities with a common service layer, a standardization-driven approach. This will also be accompanied by an exhibition and demonstration of best practice cases in intelligent technologies from India, from Europe. So I think that should be very interesting. I'm glad to mention this. Then we are in the process of organizing a hackathon, which will be held on the 10th and 11th of June in Bangalore. Again, we cooperate with CDOT and with the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. So basically here the idea is to invite startups and innovative young or even old academicians to work on the basis of the common service layer of one m2m and, for example, develop applications based on that. So what we still have to agree with our team is the exact topic, but it should normally be something from the intelligent transport systems field, smart cities, e-call, something of this area. So we will start by a short tutorial session. So the startups or academicians who will be there will be both getting a theoretical foundation and then a hands-on work experience with the one m2m platform. Then, of course, there is a number of other activities which we are at present discussing, and I'm very happy to say that we now have a permanent counterpart again with the new Director General of TSTSI, Ms. Pamela Kumar. So I hope this will give us additional impetus for cooperation. So I know, for example, TSTSI is celebrating its 4th anniversary later this year, and one of the things we are discussing is to do some specific workshop to support that on 5G. So there's a lot more ideas coming on trainings, etc. I would just like to say, if you're interested in that, and of course you are because you are following this event, keep following this space. Future activities will be announced on the website of the project, on the websites of TSTSI, ETSI, the website of the CSA project. It will be announced by the EU delegation and, of course, by our cooperation partners such as Indian Institute of Science or CDOT. With this, I would like to conclude by saying that for the European Union, India is a really strategic cooperation partner. I think we have a lot in common in our approaches, in our attitudes. So let me put it very blunt. We have seen in the past that the Indian participation in global standardization efforts has not been to a level which we would like to see it, because we see India as a strategic partner. So we are trying to help also to increase this participation, and we see that India is much more engaged in shaping global standards, which we believe is the way forward. It is not about having standards for each country. It is about creating standards which are interoperable, which will work in the benefit of the citizens of all the countries of the world, and which will enable companies from India, from Europe, from across the globe to do their work, to manufacture, to export. So this is what it is really all about. So I'm very happy to be somehow involved in these activities. It has been a great teamwork effort so far. Thank you very much. I'm looking very much forward to continue this work in the years to come. Thank you.